Okay, so literally, I just went through the whole class with you guys, and somehow the recording didn't work. So now we're going to do this one more time, make sure that we're still recording. Okay, I don't know what happened, but I'm going to take you through the class again. So, syllabus. Let's start with the syllabus. All right, so some of you have already reached out, so you know my cell phone number works. If you send me a text and just tell me you're from Purdue and let me know that you're from the behavior change methods class or Psych 380 is fine. Just because I have an intro to Psych too, so I want to make sure that I know who I'm talking to and responding to. Your textbook information is here. We are on the 11th edition of your textbook. I'm also real good with emails too, so if you're not comfortable texting, go ahead and email me. I check that all the time throughout the day. So some of this is just kind of generic information from the college and, being able to access Brightspace and things like that. I give students my Hotmail address because I like students to make sure that they can always, get in touch with me down the line. I have students 2-3 years after they've had me who need letters of recommendation, reference letters, job references, things like that. So I have no plans to leave Purdue, but you never know. So I've been giving this Hotmail address to students for like 15 years now. I will have it forever so that students can always, get in touch with me, even if I'm not at that specific college. Plagiarism, make sure we're still recording. Okay. Plagiarism, you guys know just to not plagiarize your work, right? Do everything in APA style for this class. Do your references in APA style. So make sure that you're citing whatever it is that you need to and not copying and pasting anything from the internet. Late work, you guys can see late work I'm not a big fan of. And if you've watched my, Who is Dr. Manson video that I think I provided you guys, second guessing myself, make sure that you, maybe I did. Make sure that you, if you're struggling and you're going to get behind in the class and things are not working out as well, I didn't give you my introduction video, but I will. Make sure that you reach out. Okay, I'm not a big fan of late work, and as I really mentioned in my introduction video too, it's not something I'm fond of. However, I do realize that we're living in very uncertain times, and it's a struggle for some people. So just reach out if you're having problems, if you get behind. My goal is to make sure everybody gets through the semester successfully, but just keep the community lines of communication open. You should be logging in at least 3 times a week, if not more, just to make sure that you're not missing anything, due dates, things like that. For the most part, your due dates here are on Sunday, like 11:59 on Sunday. But I also know we have this time difference, some East Coast and Eastern time zone and some Central Standard time zone, which is what I'm in. But, so try and keep it, within that, at least within that hour if you're submitting at the end. But always better to submit, prior to Sunday night to make sure that you're not, rushed for time at the end. All I ask with your assignments is don't email them. There will be a lot of emails to go through. Make sure that you're submitting them in Brightspace and then to do them as a .back, .x, .rtf, .pdf, something like that. Please do not send Google Docs and do not send pages because sometimes Google Docs work, but I have problems all the time because it's not made public for whatever reason it wants like an app to download or something like that. So let's just avoid Google Docs and pages. Try and get through the chapters, prior to doing any work for that week. You have, 1-2 assignments most weeks. A lot of this class is going to focus around the behavior change project and towards the end when they see us case study documentary that you're going to do. This is just some general information on APA. We have switched from the 6th to the 7th edition of APA. I'm not particular as to which one you want to use. Like this is one of the major things that's changed. We don't have to include a running tether anymore. In student papers and professional papers we do, but not in student papers. But just make sure that you're, using 6th or 7th APA and then including any of your references that you need to do. So this is just other information on APA. Okay, so this is your project. So the self-directed behavior change project. So this is just some ideas. These are not things that you necessarily have to go through. But you're going to want to pick an idea like this or pick one from the list of something that you feel you can commit to changing. You can see there's a lot of decreasing things on here. There's a few increasing things that are mentioned. It's up to you what it is that you want to change, but the idea is to go through the change process and what it is you learn from the change process, not necessarily how successful you were at making that change. We know, any changes that we go through in life are challenging. This one should be down on the next slide. So, I want to see that you, understand the process of, the steps that you take to make changes happen, not necessarily if you were, successful at meeting your goal. There is a couple examples of former projects from students that are in the class, so we kind of give you a sense of what it is that you're doing, but this is basically broken down into 4 parts. So the first part is not due for a month, so it's due like at the end, towards the end of September. But you have to be able to track your behavior for 14 days. So somewhere in here, yeah, this is all part of the first project. So you are observing your behavior for 14 days. So you're going to have to decide in the next week or two what it is that you want to do, what change you want to make so that you have time to track it over those 14 days. So once you decide which one of these, or if you have another idea, just send me an email and let me know what it is. Then you can start, kind of coming up with the first part of your proposal. So you're going to come up with the measurable goal. So what is the goal that you want to achieve throughout the semester? You're going to write an operational definition for it, and then explain why you selected this goal and what the objectives are to meeting this goal. And then you're going to collect the baseline data. And so this is part of the 2 weeks. You're kind of tracking what the behaviors are and including that in your observation. You're going to use this ABC chart so you can kind of recreate this and track it. And you'll see it in the example too of the student that had this filled out. So at this point, you're just observing. You're not doing anything to change the behaviors. You're just getting a sense of where you're at with the specific behavior that you're talking about. So you're going to create some kind of line or bar graph or some type of graph in general to represent this baseline data, like how many times you see yourself doing certain behaviors or something along those lines. Describe how you conducted the self-observation, what recording method did you use, and then you're going to analyze the patterns, kind of tell me a little bit about what patterns that you've observed during this 14-day period. You're going to come up with a hypothesis, which is like an if-then statement. If this happens, then this is the result. And then integrate, terminology from the book, things that you've learned about, from the, additional resources in class or textbook or other information you find, and then explain how you're going to continue to collect the data during the intervention part, and what's the reporting method that you're going to use. The next part is to start a literature review of your behavioral change, something that's related to your whatever it is that you chose to change. So you're going to do 3 annotated bibliographies. And so if you've never done an annotated bibliography, I have a template here that you will use. Here's the template. And then there's also an example of what a completed one looks like. So this is the grid that you use. So you'll do one of these for each of the 3 articles. So you're going to put your full APA reference at the top. And then you're going to tell me a little bit about what the article's about, why the research was performed. The findings is the results section, but you want to explain this in like layman's terms. So you're not doing any in-text citations in that annotated bibliography. You're just kind of writing your understanding of what it is that you read in your research article. What are the strengths and weaknesses of that research experiment? And then the implications for practice is how do we take this and use this in the field? So you will do one of these for 3 different articles. Make sure that you find articles that are within like the last 10 years. This was the example of the finished one that you can see. So you can see, get kind of a sense of what the student wrote. So there's a whole bunch of examples you can see. There's like 17 pages. So most of the time, the like one annotated bibliography is about a page and a half in length. Typically, what we see page and a half. So lots of examples that you can flip through. And then along with your 3 annotated bibliographies that you're starting for the lit review, you're going to summarize like just a paragraph that just kind of briefly summarizes the article and how you're going to use that information to help change your behavior and what from the article can you integrate into your self-change plan. For the proposed behavior intervention, no, that's the wrong class. Let me go back here. So you can see the due dates at the top here, right? So the literature review, the annotated bibliographies that you're doing towards a lit review are due October 17th, and then this proposed intervention plan is due November 1st. So this is the next step. So you're going to kind of cover A through G, right? You're going to talk about what strategies and steps that you've taken to implement the change. What reinforcements have you used? You can talk about how you manage the situation, what the consequences have been, what are your coping skills, how's your self-efficacy through this, anything along those lines. What obstacles have you faced and how have you dealt with those obstacles? What types of rewards or reinforcements are you using? What type of schedule do you utilize these reinforcements with? How are you going to, stay committed? How are you going to prevent relapse? And then how are you going to review your progress? So you're going to integrate the behavioral terminology and concepts you read about in your literature review articles to incorporate, from your textbook and from your articles, this section. And then you can sign it at the end. And then the last part is where you're kind of putting the whole thing together. So you are taking, you're not including, well, let me see what the example looks like before I say anything. As to not confuse you all. Baseline data. Okay. So the only thing I'm kind of seeing that's missing in this example, it's been a while since I've looked at this, is the stuff from the articles. I'm not seeing a whole lot there from the articles that kind of intertwine the lit review articles that you did. That's the only change I really see in the example paper that you should have a little bit more of. But basically, you're taking the other 3 parts of your project and incorporating them into this final paper. So if there's any changes you had to make, and I'll give you some feedback in your projects on the operational definition or the goals or the objectives, make those changes before you submit your final project. Same thing with the method and the results and whatnot. Yeah. So, incorporate some of what you learned from your lit review into your final paper, and, it can be in your discussion and your results and your kind of critical analysis. And then you just kind of step by step, go through the different questions and sections and make sure that everything is there. So that paper is not due towards the end of class. December 5th, I think. Yeah, December 5th, this one that's due. And then we're going to talk about this in just a minute. So you have the class that's kind of broken down into different sections. You have different readings, videos, resources, and things that relate to the chapters. Some of these are articles, some are videos. Um, I can see you guys have already done great getting your discussions started this week. Um, these are some of the assignments that you have, but there's various assignments that you'll do throughout the semester. But these are some of the video links, reflections that you'll do. Case study we'll talk about in a little bit. Your discussions, just get your initial post in by Wednesday each week and the 2 replies by Sunday. I can only put one due date in for each assignment or discussion. So they're always going to say the Sunday due date, but if you click on the discussions, you'll see that your initial post is always due on Wednesday. So this is kind of the breakdown of your points. These are the various writing assignments, your discussion board, the case study, group project, and then the self-directed change project. And so you have about 800 points in the class, and then this is your course schedule. That kind of gives you a checklist of what's due week by week. Okay, so you can see most of the time there's 2 things due, 1 or 2 things, and then a couple times you've got 3 things that are due. But it should be fairly easy to balance the workload. So every chapter is kind of set up the same way, where you get different resources that relate to the textbook, and then whatever your assignment is going to be for that week. So here, week 3, you can see there's a couple assignments too. All right, so let me go back to, so that's kind of each week. You don't have any exams in here, so don't worry about tests. Okay, so I'm going to assign groups in probably in the next month. I just want you guys to kind of familiarize yourselves together and get to know each other in the discussion boards a little bit, and before we kind of get going in this group project. And so this documentary's been out for a few years now, so some of you may have seen it on Netflix before, the When They See Us documentary. So you guys are going to do a case study on the boys from the documentary. So there's 3 parts. I will assign the groups in about a month, so around the end of September. And I just want to see that you've made some progress over the month. So this is not due till the end of October 31st. So whatever notes you've gathered, comments you've made, whatever progress your group has made towards this case study report and presentation, I just want you to submit that in. So oftentimes with projects at the end of class, especially group work, it gets forgotten and missed. So I just want to make sure that you guys are thinking about it and making progress towards it. You might want to start watching the documentary sooner rather than later if you haven't seen it before. I believe it's 4 parts. So you want to 5 parts, 4 or 5 parts, and I think they're each like an hour and a half long. So it'll take you some time to get through the documentaries. And I just want 1 person from each group to submit. So whoever submits, just make sure that the names of your group members are on the first page or first slide or whatever it is that you're turning in for your project or for your check-in, I guess. The case study report that you're going to do. So, oh wait, here, I already opened it down here. So, these are different types of case studies that can be done: explanatory, exploratory, descriptive, and collective, and kind of gives you an idea of what each type of case study is. This is pretty much a retrospective case study from a methods perspective, because all the information has already been researched and recorded, and we know the outcome of the case and whatnot. And so this is what you're including in your report. So you're going to write a paper. Your group is going to write a paper that includes all kinds of information on your people. Okay, so you're going to find background information on the different characters. Each group there's 5 boys, so each group will write on 3 of the 5 boys. Every group will write on Corey. And if you've seen this before, you probably understand why that is. If you haven't seen this before, you'll understand why Corey's story is a little bit different than the other 4 boys. So you're going to pull all kinds of background information on the boys, on the families, on the time period, the culture of New York City at the time, anything that you want to include, anything and everything you think that kind of influenced or impacted this case or this situation. So you're essentially writing like 3 different reports because you're going to do 3 different characters. Okay. You can include any kind of developmental effects, so physical, cognitive, social-emotional parts to the boys and their stories. You can talk about their cognitive abilities, their disabilities, if they, any physical limitations, all that kind of stuff you can include. Social-emotional, their, neighborhoods, their home life, their family life, their friends, that kind of stuff. And then if you were to treat these boys, this is the if part, right? Because we don't have this information. How would you treat them? Would you approach them from a psychoanalytical standpoint, from a cognitive behavioral standpoint, from a humanistic approach? How could you treat these boys to help them, kind of move forward from this whole ordeal? And then, so that's what's going to be in your report. Okay, so there's not like a specific page number that you have to do for the report. I just want to, make sure that it's thorough and that it's detailed and that you're, kind of including every aspect that you can think of that surrounded these boys in that situation that they were in. And then the last part, which is due at the end of class, is the presentation part. So you're going to take what you did in your report up here, and you are going to turn it into a PowerPoint presentation for your classmates to see. So I want them to be narrated. Think about like the design of your slides, watch your colors, because like yellow font is really hard. Red can be hard on the eyes. So try and put together like a nice formal looking presentation. You can add transitions if you want, or different things in PowerPoint. But you should have at least 10 slides per character. So each group is going to do at least 3 of the boys. So you should have at least 32 slides. Your introduction slide, then the 10 characters for each boy, and then your reference slide and the last one. You can have more than the 32, but you have to have at least that. And so you will submit these PowerPoints in a discussion board. And so then the idea is that the other groups can go ahead and listen to your PowerPoint presentation, and then I just want to see some interaction and dialogue about what you thought of the different ways in which the case studies were prepared by the different groups, and is there something that you saw from your group that was missed in their group, or something that they included, you're like, oh yeah, that that really sheds some interesting insight into why that happened in the video and things like that. So try not to be too generic with great work everybody type of responses. Feel free to say that, but say something besides that too. Okay, so that is your case study that you will work on later on this term. So that is just kind of an overview of the class and kind of your 2 big projects. If you have questions about the smaller assignments along the way, reach out. I'm always here to assist and to help, and I will check in with you guys through announcements as periodically throughout the class. And you'll also, get feedback and stuff in the gradebook from me too. But if you need anything in the meantime, feel free to reach out. And, like I said, towards the end of September, so I will post the group information. Okay. Other than that, you guys have a great day. Enjoy your fall semester, and I'll be in touch. Bye-bye.